After 10 years of marriage, I thought I knew him. Thought the quiet moments we shared, the inside jokes, the plans we made for the future, they all meant something. But he gave it all away for someone he met at work. A woman so unassuming, so gentle-looking, it almost made me laugh. She believed him when he said we were getting divorced. Sweet, gullible thing. She didn't know he still kissed me goodbye every morning. Didn't know he still told me he loved me. But I knew. And I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I plotted. You see, revenge doesn't always come with screaming matches or shattered glass. Sometimes it's quiet. Calculated. A slow burn that no one sees coming, until it's too late. I watched them. The way he looked at her like she was his fresh start. The way she smiled, like she had no idea she was just the latest ornament on his shelf. But I wasn't interested in her. Not really. I wanted him to suffer. To unravel the way I did, silently, behind closed doors, with no one noticing until the damage was done. So I started with the little things. Moved money from our joint account, made copies of every email, every message. I documented everything, like a ghost preparing her haunting. I smiled when he came home. I kissed him back. I let him think he still had control. Then I planted seeds. Quiet whispers in the right ears at his job. A well-timed conversation with HR. A picture slipped anonymously to the woman's fiancé, yes, fiancé, because loyalty clearly isn't something either of them understood. It was never about just catching them. It was about breaking him, socially, financially, emotionally. And I wasn't done yet. I stood in the shadowed hallway, my eyes fixed on him as he casually scrolled through his phone, unaware that every move was being catalogued. The present moment blurred, and suddenly, I was back somewhere else, somewhere far too soft and innocent to belong to this cold scene. I remembered the early days of our union, a golden haze of whispered promises and midnight confessions. We had met in a cramped little cafe on a rainy autumn afternoon. I'd looked up, and in that moment, his eyes had shone with sincerity and dreams. He swept me into a whirlwind, picnics under the old oak tree, a string of inside jokes that became secret code. Every laugh and tender moment wove us closer together, crafting a tapestry of trust and hope. That night, as I lay in bed, I replayed every moment, the smiles, the hugs, the whispered confessions. I questioned if my own recollections were merely the soft hues of a past that had faded into lies. And then it all became clear, the thread holding our tapestry together had been silently severed, leaving behind scars that would never fully heal. Standing there in the present, the weight of every lost moment bore down on me. The betrayal wasn't just in that single, clandestine affair, it was the undoing of a shared past, a history filled with intimacy and trust that he had so casually dismantled. Every memory, every flash of our old lives, fueled the quiet fury I nurtured. This wasn't merely revenge, it was reckoning, a dismantling of the life we once built together, piece by piece. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't confront him. That would have made me the angry wife. The bitter woman. No, my revenge had to be cleaner than that. Surgical, a whisper of smoke, not fire, at first. It began with the friendships, his friendships. The couple friends we'd made over the years, the colleagues who came to our dinner parties. I reached out, one by one, with carefully curated concern. Hey, just wanted you to hear it from me, we're going through something. He's been spending time with someone from work. I don't want to put you in the middle, but I thought you should know, in case it ever comes up. No accusations. Just sadness. Vulnerability. People love being the first to know something secret, especially when it's dressed in quiet heartbreak. He noticed it slowly. Invitations dried up. Friends stopped laughing at his jokes like they used to. His best friend, Marcus, stopped answering his calls altogether. He thought his office affair was discreet. But I had her name, her department, even the way she wore her hair tucked behind one ear like a schoolgirl trying to impress the teacher. I also had screenshots, text messages he forgot to delete from the cloud, emails laced with promises and after-hours meetings. I sent a single email to HR. No name, no return address. Just the evidence. Just enough. A week later, whispers started circulating. He came home irritated, raving about some paranoid compliance nonsense HR was digging into. He had no idea the shovel was mine. Step 3, fracturing the affair. She believed him, of course she did. Believed they were meant to be. That they were just waiting out the divorce. That I was the cold, distant wife who had given up on him. So I gave her the truth. A small envelope delivered to her desk. Inside were pictures, him asleep in our bed last week, a receipt from the jewelry store where he bought me an anniversary gift, and a copy of the text where he told me he loved me. But the last page was what really mattered. A printout of the message he'd sent to another woman 6 months ago. Not her. Not me. Another one. One she didn't know about. Let her try to rationalize that. His world began to crumble from the outside in, friends pulling away, trust eroding at work, and his once adoring mistress now questioning every word that left his mouth. He came to me confused, even a little afraid. I remember the look in his eyes. It was the same look I had the night I discovered everything. Like the ground beneath him was beginning to crack. I feel like I'm losing everything, he said. I smiled, warm. Soft. Just the way he remembered. Oh, sweetheart, you are. Not right away. No, at first, he tried to salvage what he could. He begged the other woman to stay, but doubt had already sunk its claws into her. The HR investigation had quietly snowballed into something messy. Promotion stalled. His clean reputation tarnished. The golden boy of the department was now a liability, and when the walls started closing in, he remembered me. He knocked on the door one Thursday night, wearing the same cologne I bought him 2 Christmases ago. His hair was disheveled. His smile hesitant, but practiced. I've made mistakes, he began, voice low and trembling. You have every right to hate me. I didn't say a word. Just stared. But being away from you, it's made me realize how much I took for granted. You were always the steady one. The one who stayed. I lost sight of that, and I was weak. Ah, there it was, the script, the carefully chosen language of a man trying to rewrite history. He didn't come to apologize. He came to reset. You and me, we built a life. That means something, right? I tilted my head, letting the silence wrap around him like a vice. He stepped inside without being invited, walking past the threshold like he still belonged. I've cut things off with her. I ended it. It was wrong from the start. She didn't know me the way you do. Wrong from the start, but he kept it going. 4 months. I offered him tea. Watched his face light up at the gesture. He thought it meant progress. He didn't see it for what it was, the beginning of the end. As he spoke, I studied him. The familiar gestures. The calculated sincerity. The way he reached for my hand with fingers that had touched someone else in the same breath as betrayal. And I saw him clearly for the first time. Not the man I married. Not the boy from the cafe with wide eyes and soft dreams. Just a manipulator stripped bare. A man who only returned when the consequences finally outweighed the thrill. I squeezed his hand gently, smiled. Of course we can talk about starting over. His shoulders relaxed. His eyes watered, but in that very moment, a timed email, set hours ago, hit the inbox of his department head. A final, undeniable thread tying him to workplace misconduct. With my name nowhere in the metadata. Outside, a process server was waiting in a dark car. Inside the kitchen drawer, divorce papers, sealed and dated. And tomorrow morning? He'd wake up to find his accounts frozen. His name removed from the house deed. And the very people he thought he controlled, turning their backs for good. He came back hoping to win. But I had already played my last card. And it was checkmate. He didn't know it yet, but the life he knew was gone. By the time the sun rose, everything he'd leaned on, his job, his home, his curated image, had been dismantled, not with fire or fury, but with the precision of someone who knew him better than he ever knew himself. I watched from the upstairs window as he left the house, confusion etched into every line of his face. He kept looking back, like he expected me to come running. Like this was just another storm we'd weather and survive. But there was nothing left to survive. Only the wreckage of what he'd broken, laid bare before him. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. Freedom didn't come with fireworks or grand epiphanies. It came in the stillness of that morning, in the echo of silence where his excuses used to live. In the way I could finally take a deep breath without wondering what new lie I was about to uncover. The process server handed him the papers before he could even start the car. I'd timed it perfectly. I imagined the flutter in his chest as he read the words, irreconcilable differences, and realized that this time, he wouldn't get the last word. There would be no bargaining. No rewriting of our story into something palatable for his friends, his coworkers, or his fragile ego. He would have to live with the truth. He destroyed everything, and I was never going to save him again. Later that day, I sat alone at the dining table, sipping from my favorite chipped mug, the one he always said didn't match the rest of the set. I wasn't just the woman he betrayed. I was the woman who walked through fire and emerged unburned. And I wasn't looking back. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when I met her. Not some dramatic confrontation in a parking lot or a wine-throwing scene in a crowded restaurant. No, I chose something far more civilized. A coffee shop. Neutral ground. Public, but intimate. I messaged her from an anonymous account at first, just enough to pique her curiosity. I think we need to talk. Woman to woman. She agreed, probably expecting a lecture or a plea. Maybe even a threat, but when I walked in and saw her sitting alone at the corner table, sipping something frothy and sweet, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. She looked up, confused at first. Then recognition flickered in her eyes. You're... Yes, I said, setting my bag down, I'm the wife. Her face flushed immediately. A mix of guilt and something else, defensiveness, maybe. She straightened in her chair like she was bracing for impact. But I didn't come to fight. I'm not here to yell, I said, calmly. I'm not even here to blame you. I think we've both been lied to. Her eyes dropped to her cup, hands tightening around the porcelain. I didn't know, she whispered. He said you two were done. That it was just paperwork and logistics. I nodded. He's good at that, rewriting reality so it suits him. Makes him feel like the victim. Like he's just trying to escape the big, bad marriage and find something real. She looked at me then, really looked. And I saw it. The doubt. The slow dawning realization that maybe she hadn't just been the other woman, maybe she'd been a pawn. Silence settled between us. Heavy, but not hostile. We were both casualties of the same man's ego. Different roles, same story. She looked up, eyes glistening. Why did you ask to meet? I paused, taking a slow sip of my coffee. It was lukewarm now, forgotten. Because I wanted you to see it clearly. Not through his lens. Not through the fantasy he fed you. But through truth. You deserved that much. I think I hated you, she said quietly. The way he talked about you, it made me think you were this cold, controlling woman who didn't care about him. I let out a soft, humorless laugh. That was the point. If I was the villain, he never had to take accountability. We sat there in that quiet place, two strangers bonded by betrayal, sipping coffee while the truth hung in the air like smoke. Before I left, I stood and reached into my bag one last time. I pulled out a small piece of folded paper, an address to a therapist I'd started seeing a few months back. Just in case, I said. This helped me. Might help you too. She looked up, startled. You're not what I expected. I used to be, I replied. But she's gone now. And with that, I walked out. I didn't look back. Let him pick up the pieces of what he shattered. Let her decide who she wants to be on the other side of this. Me? I had no interest in reliving the past. I was already building something new. The call came late, later than it should have. One of those hours when the world is quiet and you can almost pretend the worst parts never happened. My phone lit up with his name. Still saved under husband. Not because I forgot to change it, but because I wanted the reminder. A name is a label, and labels tell stories. This one? It told the story of a man who thought he still had access, who still believed the door hadn't closed, just cracked. I let it ring the first time. And the second. By the third, curiosity got the better of me. I answered, but didn't speak. Silence stretched on the line before his voice cracked through, low and frayed. You met her. Not a question. A realization. Maybe someone told him. Maybe she did. Maybe the last domino finally tipped, and the echo reached him. Yes, I said, voice flat. I met her. He sighed, like the sound alone could earn him sympathy. As if breath could absolve him. I never meant for this to happen. A classic line, the kind people say when they lose control of a mess they created with both hands. She knows everything now, I added. She's not angry at me, in case you're wondering. She's hurt. But not at me. His silence thickened. I made mistakes, he said at last, but what you did, the way you orchestrated everything, how could you do that to me? I almost laughed. The audacity. The complete lack of self-awareness. You mean, how could I turn on the man who lied, cheated, and thought I'd quietly fade into the background? He hesitated. You humiliated me. You did that, I snapped, finally letting the bite into my tone. I just held up the mirror. The pause that followed was deeper than silence. I could hear him breathing, struggling to find a foothold in a conversation he wasn't controlling anymore. I thought I knew you, he said, voice barely audible. That made me smile. Not cruelly, just with a kind of soft, exhausted triumph. I thought the same about you. Another long pause. I miss you. There it was. Not love. Not regret. Just absence. He missed the comfort. The routine. The place where he got to be adored without consequence, but I wasn't that woman anymore. I'm seeing someone, I said calmly. His breath caught. Already? It's not serious, I lied. But it's honest. And that already makes it more real than anything you gave me in the end. He didn't respond. You don't get to miss me, I continued. Not after what you did. You don't get to call and dig around in my peace just because yours is gone. I wanted to hear your voice. Well, you did, I said, reaching for the end call button. Now forget it. And then I hung up. No tears. No lingering ache, just the steady thrum of boundaries finally holding. I sat there for a moment in the quiet. The space he used to fill now empty, and somehow, that emptiness felt like possibility. Like room for something new to grow. He could call again. He probably would. But I wouldn't answer. Some stories are better left unread.